for it.
Trigger.
Going to 5. Yep.
No, and that's it. Jeremy scooping it up, realizing he doesn't have enough creatures there. That trigger on Hellrider, by the way, is when a creature you control attacks, Hellrider deals 1 damage to the defending player. So all of those tokens were about to attack, putting him down to 5 before he even got to block.
Yep.
And just ending the game in very quick order. Rupa curving out beautifully there. 1 drop, 3 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop.
So we might just head to the other game to see what they're doing over there.
Yep, so remember this is a Bant Clab, Isaac Egan, well known in the Highlander community being a points committee member. He's one of the 4 guys who helps decide exactly what points, what cards are worth points, how much. And he's playing against Matthew Larkham, another Melbourne local, playing Tezzeret. And it looks like these guys are shuffling up for game 2.
Yep.
Melbourne Vintage, known for having all games end at exactly the same time. Yep. That's right, we'll definitely be looking at these guys. It's an interesting list, and it looks like we're just getting a bit of information here from the board. So Isaac has 15 creatures, and Matthew
just concedes.
Oh yes, he just concedes to Isaac having lots of creatures on the board. Funny, a Bant deck, creatures, who would have thought?
Yeah, no.
The Bant deck, as we know, well known for just putting out a turn 1 mana dork and then using that to go into slightly bigger things like your True Name Nemesis, Vendilion Click, Blade Splicer, and then just using that very, very effective disruption, abrupt decay, evasive action, counterspell, daze, and uses Birthing Pod to cycle through his creatures to get through to the bigger ones under counterspells. We do have 57 players here today competing. We do have a Mox Emerald, Mox Pearl.
Sapphire?
No, Mox Sapphire was yesterday. Mox Ruby was the vintage. So we've definitely got a Mox Pearl here today for the winner of this. We've got prizes all the way down to at least top 8, if not top 16.
I think boosters were handed out yesterday.
Yeah, Modern Masters boosters. They've been sold out all throughout basically all of at least this corridor of Melbourne. For a while, we managed to get our hands on them, and the stores put them towards prizes.
I saw plenty of Modern Masters boosters last week at GP Vegas.
Oh, you were there?
Yep, I went and helped judge.
Okay, how was it?
It was amazing. The space was so huge, and all the people were lovely. And yeah.
How's the food?
Food was good. Had plenty of burgers.
That's right. I didn't realise you went. Tim Hughes, one of our players who's on the top tables, I believe he's 4-0. He just defeated Jeremy Neiman on Storm using his Kurgan deck, basically blue-green Value Town. I saw at the end of that game dig through time against his opponent with 2 cards in hand to get both the Duress and the Inquisition.
Ooh.
Inquisition, Duress, Jeremy could only tutor for a balance. Dead on board, tutor for a balance, but he also had the counterspell for that.
Yeah.
He also went. He didn't realise it'd be quite so hot and has come back with a very lovely sunburn.
Oh, really? Yeah, Fry, the head judge of this event, and also Lachlan Saunders, who you saw on camera last round, they also went and judged. Luckily, the convention centre was lovely and air-conditioned. Sometimes it got a little bit too cold. It was about 30 degrees outside, but we stayed inside mostly and only had like a minute walk from the convention centre to the hotel, which was right next door.
That's alright, and it looks like table 1's getting ready, and we're just going to jump down back onto them.
Yep. I actually went to the Grand Canyon, and it was 23 degrees at the Grand Canyon in the middle of the day, and it was 35 when I got back at 10 p.m. in Vegas. Nice and desert-like experience.
Now, Rupa is up a game with his mono red bait. Just a burn list here. There's nothing subtle about it. He's just going to throw red spells and creatures at you until you stop him, or until your life total is reduced to 0.
Yep.
Jeremy getting roughshod by a Hell Rider at end of the first game with, what was it, 5 1/1 tokens in play, plus another creature. Going down to 5, but before he could even declare blockers, with only 2 creatures in play, there was nothing he could do there.
Yeah, no. There's plenty of goblins on Rupert side.
Going into the sideboards, what do you think they have brought in for this matchup? Obviously, Jeremy, with his slightly larger creatures, might want to go down, and Mother of Runes, you've got to think, is coming in. Lightning Helix has got to be coming in. Do you bring in Aethersworn Canonist? It's going to stop him attacking and bolting. It's going to stop him...
Possibly.
It's going to slow him down, which is something very important.
Yeah, you definitely.
And if he does want to waste a burn spell on an Aethersworn Canonist, I think Jeremy is more than happy to make that trade. I don't think Gaddock Teague's coming in.
No.
Aegis of the Gods, preventing any burn going to the head other than Flame Strike. 1 in red, both players lose 4.
Yep.
If I'm recalling the name of that card correctly. Flame Rift. And Jeremy walking right into what Rupert wants him to do in fetching on turn 1. I'll start on 19, maybe play something. The fetch land mana base really hurts a lot of decks, especially the 3 and 4 color ones against the mono red list. Just being able to start at such low life. Obviously, starting with a Deathrite Shaman is quite good, because any creatures that go to the graveyard, if it's not burnt immediately, are an additional 2 life for Jeremy. I can definitely see this just being burnt, but a creature will come into play. A Rupert-signed creature.
Yeah, so what do you think Rupert brought in?
I think he's just going to bring in more creature hate. The Pyrokinesis could definitely come in.
Yep.
Jeremy, we haven't seen any white creatures other than the Talia, so he may think about bringing in the Sulphur Elemental for its ability to just hose the white creatures.
Yep.
Smash the Smithereen, Shadowstorm, probably not, and there's a Flame Slash, so I can only imagine that's coming in. But I think all he wants to do is force that price of progress through.
Yep.
Price of progress, very important for our burn player who won our Legacy event yesterday. Pricing multiple times all through the day, with 4 of them in the main deck.
Oh, yes.
That's a very big metagame goal, but it helped him a lot. So there's our Flinthoof Boar, giving it haste, giving it +1/+1, and swinging in for 3. The 4C Zulus, with the addition of the black, just really for the Deathrite Shaman activation, being able to give them a little bit more reach in a Grim Lavamancer-esque fashion. Has been toyed with a bit. Usually it comes at the expense of one of the colours, sometimes white, sometimes red.
Yeah.
But it is a big choice, but it does leave you a lot more open to Blood Moon and those effects. You can only run really 1 of each basic, if that, and only for a couple. You can only run 1 basic and only 2 of them.
Yeah.
You can't run 1 basic for all of them, because you really never want a swamp in play.
No. Young Pyromancer, is that?
Yep, that's definitely a young Pyromancer, and that's going to be able to put out just blockers for Jeremy's creatures, making it hard for him to put damage through.
Yep.
Alternatively, it's going to allow him to go on the offensive if he does get something like that Hell Rider again. The young Pyromancer not as powerful in Rupert's deck, because there is a glut of red creatures that he wants to play, and not triggering the Pyromancer.
Yeah.
Pyromancer obviously at its most useful really in really vintage Gush decks.
Yeah.
Being able to just play 25, 30, close enough to 40 non-creature spells.
Yep.
You've got your 15 land, your 4 Pyromancers, 4 Delvers, and then just non-creature spells from there.
Yep.
Okay, so that is Pyrokinesis that we spoke about earlier. That's the red Force of Will. So you can exile a red card from your hand, and you can see he's chosen to exile Eilidon of the Great Revel. And that allows him to deal 4 damage as he chooses. So he's only to creatures, though, not to players. So he's probably going to put 2 and 2. At least 2 on the Deathrite. Or he may try and kill the Flinthoof here. He doesn't have enough to kill both creatures, though. We'll see how this ends up resolving. It's likely that Jeremy may try and path a creature of his own. Just to get that extra land.
Yep.
And that is a magic card.
Yes, it is.
It's a red-green card, but we're just trying to pull out exactly what it is. If anyone in the chat can tell us what that red-green card Jeremy just cast, we can definitely have a look at it. Oh, he's given his dude +4/+4 and trample. It's a
pump spell.
It's a Gorkland Rampager or something like that.
Right, yes.
Colossal Might. Thank you, Ninja.
Yep. +4/+2 and trample.
So there he goes, saving his Flinthoof boar there. But I don't think Jeremy's in a very good spot. He's got the clamp. He is able to put it onto his boar next turn, and then when it dies for it to draw him into 2 more cards. But there's a lot of creatures that can come through here, particularly as he's tapped out and doesn't have any instant speed, 0 mana abilities that can affect the board. Though the boar has done its work, Rupa is down to 10, which is 5 less than Jeremy, stopping Rupa really from being able to cast something like a Sulfuric Vortex and then just sit back.
Yeah.
He needs to go on the offensive here to get Jeremy low enough to make that a viable play.
Yep.
I'm still just waiting for that price of progress. Collector's edition cards are not legal in this format, hi good luck. They used to be a long time in the past, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. But a decision was made that this is to be treated as a sanctioned format as much as we can. So there's no no proxies unless you're running in a more casual league, and the collector's edition cards are not legal. Digital Psycho, this is a 57-player round tournament, so we are definitely playing 6 rounds and a cut to top 8. We do have a Mox Pearl for first and prizes down for the top 16, I believe. I will need to get that confirmed by the tournament organizer. And this is round 6 of 7. So these players are on the bubble. 5 of 6.
5 of 6, yep.
We are in the pentultimate round. We are in round 5 of 6, and these guys are on the bubble. A win here means that they are most likely going to be able to ID into the top 8. A loss here means that they may be able to bash it at X11 or X2 if they're very, very lucky.
Yeah, the good resistance.
Jeremy here, I believe, does have the highest resistance of the guys at this kind of level. Hey Matt Choke, how are you doing? For those 15 or so who have just joined us in the past 10 minutes or so, you're watching the Next Level Games Eternal Masters event, the Highlander event. This is an Australian 7-point Highlander, the only format where Zoo can actually compete with Ritual Storm and Blue-Black Tanker goes up against Splinter Twin. We're wonderful, Matt. How are you? Oh wait, you've
You-
already
wait,
answered.
yeah, yep.
Oh no, what am I doing?
I don't know. Maybe you need some more food.
Hey Kip, of course I know who you are. I did suit up Saturday as well. I suited up on Sunday for the Legacy, and in this Highlander, while not suited, I do have a vest and tie.
Yep. I dressed up on Saturday.
You did. Dressed up enough to get into the suit photo?
Yeah. Well, I don't own a suit, so I own plenty of dresses. So.
Don't have it like a skirt blazer combination?
Oh yeah, I do actually, but it's just not as nice as a dress.
No.
A formal dress. Vintage, even.
Okay, so there's the Gore Clan Rampager. No bloodlust, just put it into play. It's a 4-4.
Yep.
Rip again, only on 7, so well-timed burn spell out of Jeremy can get there. However, not too many burn spells, just the Lightning Bolt and the Price of Progress, and the Price of Progress would have obviously been cited out by Jeremy, so Rupert has to really worry about dropping below 3, or 3 or less. Searing Blood, going to kill that. Trigger a Pyromancer, make a token. I don't know about the top control decks of the format digital, but the most numerous by far today are USA, so blue, red, white. About roughly half opt to include the Splitter Twin combo, half do not. Kurgan is at the top table currently, probably double IDing in, so he's going to enter the top 8. That's Tim Hughes. He's probably going to enter the top 8 at 402.
Yep.
He is on Kurgan, which is just blue-green value town.
Yep.
It runs Ancestral and all the tutors and recursion effects for that. And there we go. That's the end of the game. Rupert managing to take it down in 2 games. And we are going to go to the second game again, which is Isaac Egan on the Bant Clamp list versus Matthew Larkham on the Tezzeret list. The Tezzeret, very funky, very expensive list. You find a lot of lists get really expensive in the mana base, but your Tezzeret in the sideboard, that's where it gets expensive. He's got the Abyss, he's got Tabernacle, he's got Chains of Mephistopheles in there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. At least Isaac Egan. Isaac Egan here with his favorite card in the deck, Skull Clamp. That's exactly what he wants every game. It allows him to just cash in his little value creatures for 2 cards every time once they are no longer as useful as they perhaps were once. The other control decks that seem to be doing well, we did have a blue-black Tinker list. While it is more of a combo deck, it does run plenty of counterspells to help force that through. Siege Rhino, familiarly an interesting card that has just taken a lot of people by surprise. It's being used in Modern, being used in Highlander. I've seen some people talk about using it in Legacy. I've never seen it do well, but the Nick Fit decks can do something like that.
Yep.
Is that an All is Dust becoming dazed? Oh. And we are able to hear Isaac Egan laughing his head off all the way from the other side of the room through a closed door at being able to daze an All is Dust.
Yep.
If you guys are interested in this format, remember that you can check out the rules and regulations regarding it at auseternal.com, Oz Eternal, and there is a tag there for 7-point Highlander. There are a lot of cards in Isaac Egan's graveyard for a game state to look like this.
Yep.
Compared with only 4 for Matthew. Makes me think that Skullclam's done a lot of work up until now.
Yep.
Matthew does have the Mirror to block for days. Yeah, or he would have the Mirror to block for days had Siege Rhino not have Trample.
Yeah.
And that Mana Crypt for Matthew is going to kill him very quickly, and Isaac Egan looking in a very dominant position here. He is able to cast that Mana Mere Battlesphere though. Into a counterspell.
I think a few of the dice rolls for Matthew have gone his way. He's not had to lose life.
Matthew sitting there going, well, do you got it?
Oh.
Mere Battlesphere hits the bin the second time for this game. And he's not going to have enough time to Academy Ruins it back up and cast it again. So he needs that top of his deck to be something very good. And he doesn't have enough Mir token to even kill. Oh, he's just going for the block to stop the 1 point of damage. Maybe he's counted an F for me. Exalted. And Matthew goes down. Now, both of these players may be able to continue into the top 8. Unfortunately with Isaac's win there. Unfortunately for Matthew, I believe he's X1-1 at the moment, putting him at X2-1 and out of contention for the day. For those of you who have just joined in, this is the Next Level Games Eternal Masters event. That is the end of round 5. We do have 6 rounds before we're going into top 8. We are going to have a look quickly and see what happens with the... we are going to have a quick break, and we are going to come back very shortly. We'll be back following with a couple more bubble players, see if they can squeeze their breakers in. We do have 20 minutes until the end of the round, so until then, we will be back. But until then, have fun. Yeah, I assumed he was playing the exact same list as Graham. And Graham does have 5 Minuten. 5 Minuten. Ja, 5 Minuten. Danke. We finished the round early. How exciting! Here are standings at the end of the penultimate round. If you wish to drop, come see me. Anyone else want to drop? The big. Alright, players, anyone else want to drop? Otherwise, I'll just take it down and do the pairing. Actually, I feel that you're definitely saying you're right. Where's Eddie? Prince! Alright, players, pairings for the final round of Swiss are up. Find your tables, take a seat, and this weekend will soon be over.
Christopher is playing bass.
I put in 2 copies of slips from the bed.
Right? You're simply the best. Better than all the rest.
Average.
Better than
Medium. Compared to the rest. Hi, Chris. He's gonna be on the main. Okay.
Do we say that it's the Duretti Precon
Yep.
deck?
On band clamp. Howdy folks and welcome back to Next Level Games Eternal Masters Weekend. We're here for the final round of Swiss in the sixth round of the Highlander event. 57 players here fighting it out for a Mox Pearl. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We've got a very interesting match coming up. Julian Toe has been paired up, so he is currently on 9 points. And that has caused a lot of trouble on the top tables.
Yep.
They can't ID in because if he wins this match, and he's obviously going to be bashing it out against Christopher Turner, that could upset any kind of IDs and concessions and things that are happening in the top tables to ensure everything happens as they want. So we're going to go down to that table, and this is going to be a very interesting match. Christopher Turner is playing Built from Scratch, Commander Precon, featuring Duretti as its commander.
Yep.
And that.
Pretty sad they didn't miss his bring his Japanese foil oversized Duretti to show it.
Yep, say this is my commander.
Yep.
Say what's yours.
Yep.
So if you do check the cards from Christopher Turner's list, it is very, very similar to the Duretti commander list called Built from Scratch, and that's why it's that name. Julian Toe we have seen once before. He is on their banned clamp list, and we saw him lose to Lachlan Ward Smith. On his Academy deck, which has gone into the final round in first place. I don't believe he's dropped a game yet.
Nope.
Match, sorry. I believe he's dropped a game.
Yep.
But that's a very, very interesting list. The Bank Clamp, obviously using small creatures to pump out large threats as quick as he can in the early turns, and then using Skull Clamp to just draw as many cards as possible. We do have some locks for the top 8 Lord of Riots. Just trying to pull out. So I believe Tim Hughes is a lock. Jimbo Dowling is a lock. So those kind of decks are basically our USA control decks have all made. A couple of them have made it in, and we're going to see what happens from here. But Julian Toe here being paired up has put a real spanner in the works, and basically no one else besides the top 2 or even the top 4 are locked, and the top 4 are only on breakers, as in 3rd and 4th position.
Yep. It's very close.
It's like Built from Scratch may be going down. At least he can always cast Duretti from the command zone.
Just for 2 extra.
No, it's the first time he's cast it today.
Oh, okay.
And that is a Trinisphere in hand, so a Welder into a Trinisphere seems a pretty good start. Julian, obviously, being able to put a creature down.
The mother.
Yes, that is a Multi 5 from Christopher there.
Yep.
Looks like a Grim Monolith possibly into a Trinisphere here. Trinisphere, very powerful card. If Julian, we note that he hasn't cast a Mana Dork, so he's not going to be able to cast anything next turn if it resolves, and he may not even have the land base to even get up to that.
And it resolves, so...
Yep, no days coming from Julian there.
Yeah.
And the cheeky mum beats.
Yep.
That's a ruler taken to Christopher Turner's behind for 1 point of damage. No, you do not play Trinisphere.
Excuse me. Mental images. Yes.
3 mana, Expedition map. Next turn he's going to be able to play one of those other lands, get something strong, and he does have a Welder in case this Trinisphere or something does get removed. Mum comes in again, scolding him for casting Trinisphere. Bant Charm, destroying target artifact or enchantment. Though that is a freshly drawn Mishra's Workshop for any other artifact that may be in his hand, which is a Lightning Greaves. I believe that his hand is Lightning Greaves Welder, and the Welder won't be able to come in for another couple of turns. Though once it comes in, it can obviously equip itself with the Lightning Greaves, get rid of the Lightning Greaves, get back the Expedition map, get another land. Julian with no additional creatures, possibly holding up counter magic through the Trinisphere.
Yeah.
Julian Toe electing to not. Okay, so we do have to admit, hi, good luck, that he did add some cards. It does not only include just the Mishra's Workshop, it does also include a Black Lotus, a Mana Vault, and a Mana Crypt.
Yep.
So if you missed out on the Commander Precon, you certainly missed out on a lot if they did contain all those cards. Recommended retail price, $49.99.
Yeah, and a few disappointed collectors with the restricted list being...
Yes, the no reprint policy.
Yeah.
Oh, we said we wouldn't print them in standard legal sets. We'll just print them in Commander Precons.
Yep. Yeah, no, there are a few changes in the cards for the Precon. Just a base.
And that's a second mana source.
It's a lovely... Is that a foil snow-covered mountain? I think.
Is that a steel Hellkite in his hand? Turner may be shuffling between a Welder and a Hellkite. Which is only 1 mana off being cast.
Yep.
Restoration Angel joining the party for Julian, hoping to end this as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Turner just having a lot of trouble, just not even from finding out from under his Trinisphere, simply getting creatures getting spells onto the board.
Yep.
Just the Workshop not able to cast the Welder, but a Forge Master with the Lightning Greaves there does represent the ability to make that Shroud straight away. Say, do you got it for the removal spell? If he doesn't, that Shrouded cannot be hurt. But no, there we go. Swords to Plowshares. That's an extra 3 mana for 3 life for Christopher. That is actually representing another turn at this point. Julian playing very well through a Trinisphere.
Yes, indeed, he is.
Trinisphere, unlike a sphere, if they've got the mana, will do nothing.
Yep.
Chris Failer, looks like he hasn't got the land there, but he hasn't untapped for the turn yet. It's possible we do have a Stoneforge Mystic in Julian's hand for that to come down next turn, flash in and equip for lethal, or he may simply decide to. Elects not to go for the Stoneforge. Meaning Christopher does have 2 turns unless Julian has got another. But really, there's not much here Chris can do.
No. Definitely a hard task for him.
Interesting that Christopher hasn't got any mana, considering all 7 of his points are put into it.
Yeah.
4 for the Black Lotus, 2 for the Mana Crypt, and 1 for the Mana Vault.
Yep.
Now, all 7 points are in fast mana acceleration, but he's just not been able to put it together.
No. Just the mountains in the workshop that have shown up.
Now, are those mountains from the Commander Precon?
I don't think they are.
Oh no, you're ruining it for us, Chris. Okay, now he's electing with him on 4 life to go get the Skull Clamp. Interesting, Stoneforge goes under the Trinisphere to put the artifact into play.
Yep. And that game goes to Julian.
And that's the end of that game. For those who have just joined us, this is the Next Level Games Eternal Masters weekend. This is Australian 7-point Highlander. We're just about to go to Table 2, in which Maze is playing a blue-white control deck, if not, USA control deck, against Lachlan Saunders, who was on the same mud list as, or as close as we can tell, a similar mud list to the other table, which on foot, this one actually does have mana on the table.
Yes, it does indeed. Now these mountains are also not in the precon.
Those still using Doretti as a commander.
Yes.
Yes, Irish, this format is your usual deck construction rules of 60 cards in the at least 60 cards in the main deck and up to 15 cards in the sideboard. So it does have all those usual rules.
Yep.
Can we tell what is that under the detention sphere? Is it another Trinisphere?
Looks like it could be. Yes. Thank you, Swag Rid Chef.
Oh, it is Chef. I've been reading Chief since yesterday. Annoying. This is Australian 7-point Highlander, so it's a singleton format. As I said, 60 card main deck, 15 up to 15 card sideboard. Singleton, and it uses a points list for power level. There are a number of cards. There's about 40 or so cards that have a designated points ranking between 1 and 4, and you're allowed to use a maximum of 7 points in your deck, which basically all you have everything from Black Lotus at 4 points, Ancestral Recall at 4 points, Tinker at 4 points. Your 3 points are your quite good cards, your DT, VT, Soul Ring, any of the original ABU Moxen. 2 points, your Balance, your Channel, Channel. Balance is 1 point, as are many of the green 1-cost tutors.
Yep. Green Sun Zenith, Wasteland.
And so from there, you've just got to build a deck. It's one of the only formats really where we can still have Zoo going to playing up against Tendrils, playing up against other Storm combo decks. And welcome back. You're in the booth. This is Joshua Butler. I'm here with Laura Ellis, and we're going into the final round of the Highlander event here at Next Level Games. This is our Masters event, which has been going on for 5 years at this location, 1 year prior at the unfortunately closed down Metagame store. Actually was previously owned by a player who's fighting his way into top 8 at the moment, Isaac Egan.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see if he can make it into yet another top 8 event. Isaac is a very proficient player, and I believe he's bashing it out at the moment.
Yep.
We saw him manage to daze an Allers Dust at the end of the last game. He actually pointed out to his opponent that the turn prior to that, he could have Academy Ruins, the Darksteel Colossus. No, sorry, Darksteel Island, the artifact land. back on top of his library, which would have played around days.
Yep.
But who plays around days when you're casting an 8-mana spell?
No one.
Yes, Dragan. That point system is unique to Australian 7-point Highlander. If you do want to check out the list and the rules and the links, you can find that at www.ozeternal.com. The link will be put in the description, or the chat, I should say. It is up there, but I'm sure someone will be able to put it again.
Yep. And Dabgar, the Precon, is the 2014 Duretti Red Commander.
It's called Built from Scratch, I believe, and that was told to us by the camera pilots who were bringing it, saying that they wanted to use as many cards from the commander deck as possible without ruining the structural integrity of the actual deck that they're playing. So this is a competitive format. We are playing for a Mox Pearl today, as well as other prizes all the way down through the rest of the top 8 or top 16. I should have checked that. Sorry, Dragan, no one plays it around there, but it is a very, very nice format. It's kind of much like a cross, I'd like to think, between modern and vintage.
Yeah.
You do have the modern-esque aggro decks in being Zoo, Bant, but you also have the power level that you can get with Jeremy Neiman is currently winning in for top 8 with Storm, using Black Lotus, Yawgmoth's Bargain. And it's very interesting that those two decks can still exist in one format.
Yeah.
And still be on roughly equal footing. In there, depending on player skill, Storm is favoured, but it's not by as much as vintage Zoo versus vintage Storm.
Definitely not. Yeah.
It looks like our players may be ready back down on table 1. We're definitely going to go down there and have a look. Again, this is Christopher Turner playing Built from Scratch, the Commander Precon, or his take on it, and Julian Toe on Bant Clamp. Julian Toe did manage to take the first game after Christopher had a bit of mana trouble and not able to really play any spells. He did put a Trinisphere down on turn 1, which could have hurt Julian, but Julian just had the lands and continued to play creatures.
He did.
The one out Christopher really had was with that Forge Master, but unfortunately got Swords to Plowshare.
Yeah.
Lord of Riots, I do agree. It is one of the best formats around. It's just worse than Vintage. But that's my personal opinion.
Yep.
I'm a big Vintage fan.
Yep.
But it's second.
Yeah. Well, Vintage is the only format for which I have a deck for. That my bank account doesn't really like that, but
I don't know if you have a Magic deck, but you have a deck legal in.
Hey! Dredge is a perfectly okay Magic deck.
I like Dredge.
Good. Otherwise, I'd storm out of here, and you'd be left on your own.
I'd be left on my own,
with
storming.
the lovely chat, of course.
Hello, chat. We've got someone calling in from Chicago. Where are the rest of us coming from? We did have some Norwegians in here earlier.
Yep.
We did have a Swed last night.
There's a Canadian as well.
Canadian.
There's that
Grim Monolith once again.
Yes. I was gonna say Monolith, but then my brain decided to stop. I'm glad I was right.
No, I played Storm at Vintage, so when I say Grim, it finishes off with Tutor. Julian bringing it quite slow. He's obviously on the draw, so he does only have one land.
Yep. Auckland. And we also had a, was it 93, 94?
Oh yes, we did
After
also
Dark?
have a 93, 94 After Dark event there. You can find that going back through into the archives for this channel. They will be put up on YouTube. That was a very, very casual event.
Yep.
We had the live commentary on site, literally sitting on the table next to them, able to ask the players questions, anything that was happening. It was very, very...
Yep.
Very casual and a lot of fun. They were playing for, wait for it, a sealed box of Homelands, the upcoming Homeland set, and a copy of Presence of the Master. For those who don't know, 93-94 is a reimagining, of the standard that would have existed around 1993, 1994. So that has only things like the only sets illegal are those up until Fallen Empires. So they're the only cards. So your control decks are alright with your Ancestrals and your libraries, but your aggro decks, you're using things like Mahatma Djinns and Juzum Djinn.
There's a few Chaos Orbs.
A lot of Chaos Orbs. There will be, Nick Chmielski will be putting out an article on how to correctly flip your Chaos Orbs to ensure maximum destruction.
Oh, isn't there a tournament errata that you can only...
There is a tournament errata
Yeah.
for 93-94 specific only to Chaos Orb, which says that its ability basically becomes one tap, choose target permanent, flip card using the usual flip rules onto that card. If it touches it, it's destroyed.
Yep.
Back to the actual game, we've got Christopher Turner with a lovely old border foil Crucible of Worlds. I'm just waiting for the lodestones to come in old border, and then I can basically have the entire... Ooh, and Chalice.
Ooh.
And what I can see old border Chalice, it's going to have like the Ancient Alpha stuff, or Arabian Nights. It'll be 0/0. You may pay X twice. When you cast this, you may pay X twice. And it will come in with something like a mirror counter.
Yeah.
So the Crucible of Worlds sitting there, 6 mana open for Chris. It looks like he's going to tap 3 for an Ensnaring Bridge with some cards in his hand, meaning he's going to be able to empty his hand, and Julian will not be able to attack without removing that.
Mm.
And Abrupt Decay.
Okay.
Is Ensnaring Bridge a land? No Crucible, you can't do anything. We need to check with Fry whether there is a current ruling saying you can't play with your cards taped against the wall.
I have a feeling that you can't.
I have a feeling that they'll say they have to be within a certain space so your opponent can easily see them.
Yep.
But does it specifically state
Well,
taped
also,
to the wall?
with Chaos Orb, you can move your cards before Chaos Orb comes into play, but as soon as it's in play or on the stack, you can't move your cards. So if you want to take your cards on after that Chaos Orb has come into play, you can't.
Can you temporarily bounce it with, like, turning it into a creature with Karn, so it's a 1/1, then you use Cloud Shift so it's out of play, and then move all your cards around?
Oh, I think that... Oh, I don't know. It seems a bit too complicated.
We haven't on this channel ever televised cube drafts. Good luck, but it'll be it'd be interesting to try and do that. The streaming set is currently set up at Next Level Games Dandenong. Unfortunately, it's not here 24/7, but at some point in the future, hopefully we can do that. We did also have just some fresh firing vintage last night. That was a lot of fun to see. Just a couple of guys running through a gauntlet. And more big power creatures. I do love that Homeward Path for the Mud deck. Khan, the USA Delvers were very big, and Dax saw a lot of play today, so that Homeward Path is just going to be awesome at getting back the artifacts that were stolen.
Hmm.
SteelNet, you will have to go to your local judge to confirm that if you put a plastic sheet over your cards, Chaos Orb will or will not touch them.
Yep.
And if they try and play under the plastic sheet, I don't think they can flip it from a foot high. I think it's a very good idea.
Mm.
Okay, Tusker coming down on Julian's side. Last turn, that represents a much faster clock than just the lone Deathrite Shaman. Blade Splicer, make a 3/3. Blade Splicer odds-on favourite for the clamp decks. Just being able to get it a 3/3 and 2 cards for 4 mana is amazing. And you'll see him do that right now. Would you pay 4 mana for a 3/3 and 2 cards?
No.
Well, Thragtusk is 5 mana for a 5/3 and 5 life.
What's this paying mana for things? You just
No, you just
put them
cast
into the
Cabal
graveyard and then
Therapy.
yeah.
Cabal Therapy doesn't see much play in Highlander.
No.
Basically anything that says name a card that's not Tainted Pact.
Yeah.
Well, Phyrexian Revoker and Pithing Needle do see play for the ability to hit things that are already in play.
Yes.
Okay, so we do know that Christopher Turner is playing something like an All Is Dust. So if he can choose to untap that Grim Monolith if it is in his hand, he can then next turn All Is Dust and just hope Julian is not holding the drain. We did see an All Is Dust is drained last match. Dazed.
Yep.
I don't know what's worse.
Drain or daze.
Drain your 8 mana or daze your 8 mana. Demonic Consultation, High Good Luck, is playable. It can be played in the mono black deck plays it, which just is basically a black weenie deck and uses things like it is unpointed. The closest thing that you have next to it is also Tainted Pact. That is also playable, but that is worth 2 points. The ability to stop whenever you want, if you build your deck correctly, makes Tainted Pact much better than Demonic Consultation.
Yes.
Having singletons, Demonic Consultation does lose you the game on occasion. Yep. You'd need to check. I don't believe you can play Pact from Below.
I'm just having a look.
Is Pact from Below the anti-card, or is it the...
if I can... Contract from Below?
Are you recording... SteelNet, are you talking about Contract from Below? The 1 black anti and extra card, draw 7? It is not legal. Unfortunately, the anti-cards are not legal. There are no jeweled birds in 7-point Highlander. No demonic attorneys.
No.
Anti another card or lose the game right now.
Yep.
And that Batterskull definitely coming down is something Christopher really wants here.
Yeah.
He is on the back foot. He is 1 game down with only 20 minutes still to go. And so being able to block, gain some life. I myself have a beta Contract from Below. It is a beautiful, beautiful card. To make things a little clearer, guys, 7-point Highlander uses the vintage banned list, so anti and dexterity cards are banned. For the 93-94, they are also banned. You do have to possibly anti your Lotus, though, SteelNet. In 93-94, Scheherazade is legal. You can play that in the 93-94 format. But there's very little ways of taking advantage of that. And what we saw there was Christopher Turner going to block one of the creatures. Restoration Angel came down, flashed and bounced the creature, causing no damage to be done by the life-linking germ, causing Christopher to not lose any life.
I think Chris was attacking, wasn't he? And Julian was blocking?
Oh, Christopher may be attacking now.
Yeah, Christopher swung in with his germ with
with vigilance.
Vigilance. Yeah.
Block, bounce.
Yeah. Block. Resto bounce.
Yeah,
No damage.
Shahrazad in 93-94, there's no good ways really of making it work.
No.
Sure, you have a fun sub-game, sure you draw a card if you win, but it doesn't do anything.
No, not really.
It's very hard to Shahrazad into Shahrazad into Shahrazad. Yep, we can see that here. So he has activated Tasica, forcing Christopher to pick between Path to Exile or Swords to Plowshares. I believe he's picked the path there.
Those are swords.
He picked the sword. So there is a sword in his hand, meaning this gem is probably going to go away. Interesting that Chris has elected not to ever untap the Monolith, which would have him at 8 mana now, and he does have a Khan Liberated in his hand. He chooses to do it now.
Yep.
Grim Monolith, unlike Mana Vault, does not have an upkeep only clause.
Christopher swinging in with a gem again.
Yeah, no turning sideways when you have Vigilance.
No.
Dragan, if you love this, I do advise you to stick around. We will be watching our first place going into the top 8, Lachlan Ward Smith on his Academy deck. The Academy deck is going to abuse Academy untap land effects and just draw 7s. And we've seen him end the turn with 30 or 40, 13, 14 lands in play, 20 artifacts past the turn. That's a very big voice token.
It is indeed.
Bear in mind, guys, this is the winning in, and if Julian Toad does win this, if he does take this 2-0, even better, if he is going to ruin a lot of lives up on the higher tables. Table 1 could easily ID into the top. The second table, we don't actually know who has ID. The second table were talking about it just as the round started.
Yep.
Tables 3 through, I think these guys are on table 6, are all bashing through.
Yep.
Just because of the draws and that kind of stuff, they've not been able to get through. And even Jeremy Neiman, former Pro Tour player, and what was that? Adversary of Louis Scott Vargas is not safe.
Nemesis, I think. Yep. And we've got Khan coming down for Chris. Taking away that Tasiga.
Khan says, I'll have that, thank you. Hi, good luck. If you are interested in seeing something like a vintage rotisserie draft or something like that, feel free to send an email. I'm sure an email will be put up through saying you'd be interested in that. I'm obviously going to take a note of that. I myself are avid vintage player and close with the Sneak and Show guys, and see what we can do about something like that. We do cover all the top 4s, or at least top 8s, if not top 4s of the vintage leagues when they come through, as well as the Highlander leagues, and you'll be able to see guys at the end of 8-12 weeks of preparation playing their favourite formats. And Turner not looking in a good spot. Khan was good enough for a turn. Scavenging Ooze, making that Crucible even less relevant.
Yep.
Steel Hellkite. No, and
not
Christopher
getting there.
is not going to make it into the top 8. Julian Toe is going to cause a lot of upset here going into the higher matches. So they've all bashed out. I think a lot of them were bashing, going, we'll wait on the result of that game to see if we can ID. Julian has won that. He has pushed himself up to 12 to 13 points, meaning that they will not be able to all just simply ID in.
Yep.
It means if they all ID, Julian is probably going to knock one of them out.
Yep.
And so we do have 13-14 minutes left in the round, so we are going to leave you for a little bit. Stay tuned, and we will be back for our top 8. Remember, there will be a Pearl up for prizes. We'll have a full list of the prizes up, full list of all that, as well as top 8 decks and all things going up then. Do remember, ladies and gentlemen, that if you are in the area, there will be another Highlander tournament in Adelaide on the 4th of July. That'll be a Rob Lux Highlander event at Infinity Games. There will be a Mox Ruby for first place. But other than that, we'll see you in 15 minutes or so.